Hey everyone, I'm Kim, the mom boss behind EmeryandK. Oh, welcome back to my channel. Today's tumbler tutorial is going to be this really cool galaxy-esque tumbler. We're going to be using glitter inks and of course some glow-in-the-dark vinyl. I will list and link everything I use in the description box below. I'll have a few discount codes for you there as well. If I can do this, so can you. Let's get to it. The first thing, as always, you want to go ahead and prep your tumbler, and now we're going to paint it. I'm going to be using a white from Rust-Oleum, and then from Color Shot, I'm going to be using Cosmo, Center Stage, and Stamped Passport. For the tumbler I'm using today, this is a 40-ounce camper mug from Craft Haven. This thing is giant, but it is exactly what I wanted for this tumbler when I pictured it in my head. I wanted to have a lot of working space. So we're just going to take our spray paint and we're going to kind of make a roadmap, if you will, for where our glitter is going to go. And I want this to be like a diagonal ombre with my glitter, if that makes sense, kind of around the tumbler. You'll see, like, as I get more paint on here and as we go into the glitter process, kind of what I mean. So the first thing I'm going to do with my spray paints is just kind of a thin, like rough draft coat, if you will. Just to kind of lay things out, decide where I want more of one color or another. The reason that I like to do this with my spray paint, it doesn't necessarily need to be a perfect ombre because our glitter is going to cover up most of it. I like to do this with my spray paint because it allows me to see like a starting and stopping point for each color glitter, because it's easier to kind of go back over my spray paint and adjust where my colors are going to be than it is with my glitter. Once I'm happy with how all of my paint colors are laid out, I'm going to set this aside, let it dry for like half an hour to an hour. The Color Shop paints dry pretty quickly, but the white takes a little bit longer, so just about an hour to be safe. We'll mix up some epoxy and then we will be ready to apply our glitter. We're going to be using 4 different glitters today. These were all in the advent calendar, so that's why I have mini shakers of them. We have Allowance, Kimberly, Nostalgia, and Persian Shield. So Nostalgia, when they released it, they actually changed the name to Cosmic, so I will have Cosmic listed in the description box. I went ahead and put about 15 mLs of epoxy on this tumbler. Like I said, this 40 ounce is massive, so 15 mLs gave me the perfect coverage for my glitter layering. The first color we're going in with is Allowance. I do the bottom and then just like a rim around the bottom, and now I'm just gently sprinkling that onto my white paint on my cup. I have my cup tilted down and I have my glitter shaker about 6 inches away from my tumbler, and I'm just letting that glitter kind of fall where it may. I'm going to be doing something similar with my glitter as I did with my spray paint, and just doing kind of a rough draft, if you will, as I lay them out, just kind of figuring out where I want my fades to be between colors, how much space each color is taking up, and then we'll go back through and perfect our coverage. As I'm sprinkling on Kimberly, you can see I'm going a little bit lighter than I did with that Allowance. Kimberly is a medium cut, and so it can very easily take over that Allowance if I go in too heavy-handed. With Kimberly, I did the same exact thing, and I just followed that pink paint on my tumbler. Now I'm going in with Persian Shield, which is also a medium cut, and I'm making the Persian Shield section a little bit bigger than the Kimberly one, because I felt like this cup I wanted to have a really nice dark top, and 2, because this color is just absolutely freaking beautiful. So once I'm happy with the layout of my Persian Shield, I'm going to go in with the Cosmic. Now, admittedly, I did go a little bit heavy-handed with this Cosmic, and about this part, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? But don't worry, we can go back in and fix that with our medium cut. That's one thing I love about mixing cuts of glitter, is you can always fix, if you get a little too heavy-handed with a finer one, you can always fix it with a larger cut. So perks to the larger cuts here. So I'm just going to get the top rim really well with that Cosmic, and then I'm going to set it aside. I'm not going to use that one again because, like I said, I got a little too heavy-handed and I have plenty of it on here. So now we're going to go back through and we're going to perfect our ombre, and we're going to perfect our glitter coverage. With this Persian Shield, you can see I have my tumbler at a nice steep angle, and I'm just sprinkling it onto my tumbler, and I'm constantly twirling it and moving it around. This just really lets the glitter kind of ombre itself and sprinkle down naturally and land where it may. I think this is like the easiest way to get an ombre, is to just hold your shaker up high, tilt, and sprinkle. Really not scientific or anything exciting, but it always works for me. So once I'm happy with that Persian shield, I'm going to repeat the process with Kimberly. I'm going to tilt my cup at a steep angle. I'm going to have my shaker about 6 to 8 inches away, and I'm going to keep sprinkling that until I'm happy with the ombre. And then the final color I'm going back in with is my Allowance, and I'm going to get a little bit heavier with this one because it's an opal, and really it's not going to do anything to my other colors if it gets into them. Once I'm happy with how my glitter looks, I'm going to put it on the turner to cure for about 6 to 8 hours, spray seal it, put on a coat of epoxy until it's smooth. You might need 1 or 2 depending, and then we'll be ready to use some inks to turn it into a galaxy. For our galaxy effect, I'm going to be using some white acrylic paint. This came in one of the sub boxes from the glitter guide, but whatever you have will work. You're going to want some alcohol ink. I prefer to put my alcohol ink on with little pieces of magic eraser. And then for our inks, we're going to be using rainbow, neon violet, magenta, azure blue, lilac, amethyst. What's that one? I missed it. Hold on. All right, I had to go look. That one was aqua blue. And I know it seems like we have a lot of colors here, but we're going to be blending and making some dimension with them, so we want more colors. If you don't want to use this many, your craft room, your rules. Now, as far as applying the ink and the paint, I did speed this process up in the video quite a bit. In real time, this took me about 20 minutes, but you can get kind of the gist of what we're going to be doing with it sped up a little bit so you're not sitting here watching me blob things on. So first I'm starting with that white acrylic, and this I'm doing just on the very bottom where my white spray paint was. I'm doing this just to kind of give it a little bit of almost like a Milky Way-ish type look. And then I'm going to go in with that rainbow additive. So this is not opaque, it's pretty translucent actually. It basically is just like sparkly. It's so hard to capture the beauty of this on camera, but it is literally gorgeous. So I'm just kind of going in with that. I'm adding this randomly into places. Now with this part of the tumbler, I've kind of turned my brain off and I'm just getting creative. I'm just going to start blobbing on my inks and things go where they're going to go. Really the only thing I'm keeping in mind is that I want to use the lighter colors like the white, the lighter pinks, lighter purples towards the bottom, and then use darker colors more at the top, kind of so it goes with the flow of my glitter. But you can do whatever you want. This is kind of a Milky Way-esque, like I said, inspired tumbler, and there's really no right or wrong here. You're not going to mess it up, so don't stress about it. As I'm going through, I just had to open that little bottle of ink, and let me tell you, using your weeding tool and gently just pushing down on the top of your ink is the best way to open these things, because it doesn't make a giant mess like it does with scissors, and it's not scary like scissors. I always feel like my scissors are going to break when I open inks with them, but anyway, back to the inking process. So you can see here, I'm really just like switching up colors. I'm mixing pinks and blues and purples. Like I said, there's no right or wrong way. Now, what I am doing with my alcohol is I will get a little bit of that on my magic eraser. I'll kind of blot it on my paper towel, and then I will dab it on my inks, and that's going to help make some really cool cells. The other way to get cool cells when you're blobbing on inks is to just layer things. Like I said, there's no right or wrong, so don't stress about it. Add your inks until you're happy you've gotten a really cool look that you're going for, and then you go ahead and set it aside to dry. These inks dry super fast. I think I let mine dry for like a half an hour. It really doesn't take a long time at all. So just go in, get it to how you like it, let it dry, and I'll see you on the other side. finished with your inks and they are dry, there are two options here. We're going to be adding some stars. Now, if you want your stars to be a stark bright white, you're going to want to go ahead and throw a coat of epoxy over your inks before doing this part. If you want them to be a little bit almost creamier and kind of like semi-translucent, you will go ahead and put them right over your inks as I am doing. This kind of allows them to settle into the inks and they'll have little like creamy spots of purple and pink and blue. You guys will see as we go through. So I am just taking my can of spray paint, putting my finger right up to the nozzle, pushing the nozzle down, and then I'm literally just flicking the paint onto my tumbler. The further away you are and the less paint on your finger, the smaller your little stars will be. The closer and the more paint, the larger they'll be. If you want to have kind of like a shooting star effect, hold your cup at an angle like you just saw there. Just continue this until you're happy. I let mine dry about a half an hour. I went in with a coat of epoxy, and once that was cured, I was ready to put on my decal. We're going to be using something super cool for our decal today. So I just have some plain Oracle black vinyl, and the sheet I showed you before that looked like little shimmery stars is actually a laminate sheet from TeckWrap Craft. It is clear, and it just adds like this super cool shimmer to your vinyl. So the first thing I'm going to do, I've sized my decal already in Design Space, and I've just trimmed these sheets obviously to be a little bit larger than them. So now I'm just going to trim a little piece of that backing off this laminate sheet. I'm going to lay it on this black vinyl and then use my little felt lined vinyl squeegee to lay it on there nice and flat. Now, I cut this with my Cricut Maker on the holographic setting with more pressure, and it didn't cut as well as I would have liked it to. I struggled a little bit weeding some of the smaller parts of the decal. In hindsight, I should have done some test cutting, but I have no chill, and I just really wanted to get this cut and put on this tumbler. But if you are going to use these laminate sheets, I would definitely do some little test cuts to find a setting that works better than the one that I used. Look at how cool this stuff is, you guys. This is awesome. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut my decal. This decal I actually drew in Procreate. It will be available as a free download. I will have it linked in the description box below, and I would be so honored if you used it on a tumbler because I think that is so darn cool. As usual, I did add an offset to this decal. I did 0.05. Typically I do 0.03, but I wanted 0.05 because I cut my offset out in this really amazing holographic glow-in-the-dark vinyl from TeckWrap Craft. This stuff is so cool. So I wanted a little bit thicker offset so you could really see that glow. So as always, I put my decal on there with the backing. I measure to make sure it's straight, and then I carefully pull the backing and lay my decal on my tumbler. Now, per usual, if you see my other videos, you know I like to layer piece by piece so I can make sure everything gets on there nice and straight. Also, I see that little extra piece on the look up, the P and up. Don't worry, I get that removed. So I wanted to add a little something else to this tumbler, and I thought stars would be perfect. So I just ended up going into Design Space and slicing out one of the stars from the decal, and then I resized it. I did some smaller and some a little bit bigger, and now we're just going to kind of scatter those around my tumbler. So I cut out some of them in just that laminate sheet, so you will see them like your tumbler as you kind of turn it and get different angles. You'll get little peaks of those like shimmery stars, which I thought would be super cool. And then I also cut some out of that same glow holographic vinyl because of course we need glow-in-the-dark stars. Once I'm happy with all my little stars on there, I'm going to go ahead and give my tumbler 2 more coats of epoxy and it will be finished. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, maybe a little bit inspirational. If you did, I would love a thumbs up on my video. If you want to see more tutorials in the future, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, happy crafting.